All right, let's put on our detective hats for this one. Your car's computer is sending out a secret message, and you know what? We're gonna crack the code.
And it all starts with this guy, right? The dreaded check engine light. Look, it's not just some random warning, it's a signal. Your car is literally trying to tell you something's up. The big question is, what is it trying to say? Well, that's where we come in.
So you grab your trusty code reader, plug it in, and bam! This is the clue you get, P0175. Now, I know it looks like a bunch of random letters and numbers, but it's actually a super specific message. Let's break down exactly what your car is saying.
Okay, first things first. We've got to understand the language here. What in the world does P0175 even mean?
So P0175 basically translates to System Too Rich on Bank 2. I want you to think about it like a recipe, right? Your engine needs this perfect mix of air and fuel to run just right. Running rich just means that recipe's all wrong. Way too much fuel, not enough air. Now your car's computer, it's smart. It'll try to fix this imbalance, but when it just can't get it right, it throws up its hands and gives you this code.
Okay, but what's this Bank 2 business? Well, if you've got a V-shaped engine, like a V6 or a V8, you basically have two sides, or banks, of cylinders. Bank 1 is always the side that has cylinder number 1, and Bank 2, that's just the other side. So this code is a huge clue. It's telling us the problem isn't just anywhere, it's happening specifically on Bank 2.
But listen, the code isn't the only piece of evidence we've got. I bet you've already noticed some things yourself, right? Maybe you're smelling raw fuel coming from the exhaust, or you're seeing some black smoke puffing out of the tailpipe. What about a rough idle, or maybe your gas mileage just tanked out of nowhere? Yep, those are the classic symptoms that tell us we're on the right track.
All right, so we know what the problem is, too much fuel. But now we need to figure out why it's happening. And for that, it's time to line up the usual suspects.
So what's the actual culprit here? I mean, there are a handful of things that can cause this fuel mess, but let's be real, some are way, way more common than others.
And here's our lineup. Now, our number one suspect, the most common bad guy in this situation, is a leaking fuel injector, for sure. But we can't just stop there. We've also got to look at a bad oxygen sensor, a dirty or faulty mass airflow sensor, or, hey, it could even be something as simple as a clogged up air filter.
And this is a perfect way to think about it. A leaky fuel injector is just like a dripping faucet, but it's happening inside your engine. It's not closing all the way, so it's constantly dumping extra fuel into the cylinder. And that completely wrecks that perfect air fuel recipe we were just talking about.
Now, what about that O2 sensor? Think of it like a spy or an informant reporting back to the engine's main computer. If that sensor goes bad, it's like a bad informant. It gives the computer totally wrong information. It might say, hey, we're running lean over here, not enough fuel, when everything is actually fine. And what does the computer do? It says, oh, okay, and starts dumping in more fuel, which, you guessed it, creates the exact rich condition we're trying to fix. Okay, we've got our list of suspects. Now we need a solid plan of attack. A good diagnosis isn't about guessing. It's a step-by-step process of elimination. So, let's walk through the playbook for how to crack this case. This is pretty much the exact playbook the pros use. First, you always scan for other codes. They can give you extra clues. Next, you need to watch the live data coming from the engine sensors. After that, you'll want to test the actual fuel system components. And then finally, you can inspect the sensors themselves. See, it's a really logical flow, from the digital data right down to the physical hardware. And I've got to say, the most important tool you're going to have for this whole investigation is a scan tool that can read live data. Seriously, it's like having a direct line to your car's brain, getting real-time updates. Without it, you're basically just flying blind and guessing. So when you're looking at that live data, this is what you're hunting for. You're going to look at something called fuel trims. It's just a fancy way of saying how the computer is trying to adjust the fuel mix. With a P0175, you'll see the fuel trim for Bank 2 go way into the negative. We're talking like minus 15% or even more. That's the computer literally screaming, whoa, too much fuel, I'm trying to take some out. You'll probably also see the oxygen sensor voltage for that same bank stuck high. These numbers, right here, that's your smoking gun.
All right, so once we've gathered all our evidence and we've positively identified our culprit, it's finally time to close this case for good.
You know, the best part about doing a proper diagnosis is that it points you to a clear solution. You're not just throwing a bunch of parts at the car and crossing your fingers, hoping something works.
Nope, you're making a targeted strike, replacing the single faulty component that was causing all the trouble in the first place.
So, to officially close this case, there are just 3 final steps. Step 1, replace the part you've confirmed is bad. Step 2, use that scan tool again to clear the code out of the computer's memory. And last but not least, step 3, take the car for a good test drive to make sure the fix worked, and most importantly, that the check engine light stays off. So you see, that check engine light doesn't have to be this big, scary, intimidating thing. A code like P0175, it's not some unsolvable mystery, it's really just a puzzle. And now, with the right information and a step-by-step approach, you've got everything you need to solve it. You are absolutely ready to crack the code.